Hello, Cincinnati, coming to you live from the Jack and Jones Schrader studio at the University of Cincinnati. This is from J to Z on Bearcast Media.
First up, we're going to come at you with some headlines.
Last week, Rafael dos Santos backed out of his fight with UFC lightweight champ Conor McGregor for their upcoming fight on the 5th at UFC 196 after breaking his left foot. The number 5 lightweight contender Nate Diaz will step in to face McGregor in what's now going to be a non-title welterweight bout.
Few NBA headlines. The Raptors beat the Cavaliers Friday night 99-97. Toronto now trails the Cavs for the Eastern Conference by just 2 games. Golden State Warriors Steph Curry hit a 32-foot three-pointer with 0.3 seconds left on the clock as the Warriors beat the Thunder 121-118. The Warriors improved to 53-5, and Oklahoma City went down to 41-18.
And NCAA number 2 Kansas all but locked up the Big 12 title after defeating Texas Tech and Oklahoma's loss to Texas on Saturday. Vanderbilt upset number 16 Kentucky Saturday 74-62 to knock UK down the ranks.
New top 10 for you for NCAA basketball. Number 1 Kansas. Number 2 Michigan State jumped from 6 to number 2. Villanova, not the number 1 seed anymore, down to 3. Virginia at 4. Xavier remained at 5. Oklahoma 6. Miami 7. North Carolina 8, who also won tonight. Oregon 9, West Virginia 10. Both of those teams, Oregon and West Virginia, in the top 10 for the first time this season. New England Patriots and Tom Brady agreed to a 2-year extension that links Brady to the team through 2019 season, also freeing up some cap space.
And sticking with the NFL, after the San Francisco 49ers announced that they were going to hold on to their once promising quarterback, the agent for quarterback Colin Kaepernick has requested permission to seek a trade from the team. We're going to be discussing his future with the team when we return from our first music break. You're listening from J to Z on Bearcast Media.
To decide that the things that I tried were in my life just to get high on. When I sit alone, come get a little known, but I need more than myself this time. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and I do believe that we rely on. When I lay it on, come get to play it on, all my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, I got your head. Now listen what I say, oh, oh. When will I know that I really can go to the well one small time to decide on? When it's killing me, when will I really see all that I need to look inside? Come to believe that I better not leave before I get my chance to ride. When it's killing me, what do I really need? All that I need to look inside. Hey, oh, listen what I say. Come back and hey, oh, look at what I say, oh. The more I see, the less I know, the more I like to let it go. Hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Deep underneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow, privately divided by a world so one-decided, and there's nowhere to go. I know, the more I like to let it go. Hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow. Privately divided by a will so undecided, and there's nowhere to go. In between the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow. Running through the field where all my tracks will be concealed, and there's nowhere to go. I'll say it, hey, yeah, oh yeah. Tell my Lord now, hey, yeah, oh yeah. Tell my Lord now, he's beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow. Privately divided by a world so one-sided, and there's nowhere to go. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow. Running through the field where all my tracks will be concealed, and there's nowhere to go. I'll say it, hey, oh yeah, oh yeah. Tell my Lord now, hey, yeah, oh
Alrighty, back with you on From J to Z. First up, some news coming out of the NFL. We mentioned it during the headlines. Colin Kaepernick's agent requesting a trade from the 49ers. He'll be due guaranteed $12 million on April 1st if the 49ers decide to hang on to him. Justin, what's Kaepernick's rationale here?
Well, he's not at a very good team right now, obviously. He doesn't have much support there. His rationale is he wants to get out because he wants to have a chance to get back to an elite status. Didn't have a very great year last year. I think he just wants to get out of there. He wants to start over. He wants some talent around him. And he wants some weapons to maybe make a playoff run again.
Yeah, last year, career low quarterback rating, dropped down in almost every statistical category from the 2014 year. I mean, you have to take into account he played about half as many games. But even then, proportionally, he dropped down in pretty much every category. You know, he's not in a position to call his own shots right now.
Do you think that was his fault that he didn't have that great of a year, or do you think it's because he had literally no one around him to help him out?
It's the front office of the 49ers. That's why the 49ers collapsed. They probably had the worst offseason probably in NFL history a couple years ago.
When you lose that many players, it's hard to...
Yeah, and that was not Kaepernick's fault at all. The front office let one of the most dynamic and one of the, I think, best coaches in football go. And
back to a college team.
A lot of players followed by either getting out of the team by trade or retiring. You know, Kaepernick, no, he had no offensive weapons.
Now, would this been a perfect opportunity for Kaepernick to step up and show that he is an elite quarterback and lead a bad team to a decent season?
I think he had a shot at it. He ended up getting hurt about halfway through the season.
Right.
So I think he had a little bit of an opportunity. Injury decided to hold him back from that. He's not in a position to call his own shots. It's not up to him where he ends up.
He didn't have that good of a season to decide where he gets to play.
Exactly. If this was March of 2013 and you're coming off a Super Bowl appearance, yeah, you know, you could probably go to 20 teams, you know, but he's got maybe realistically 4 or 5 teams that maybe want him, and even then,
Browns,
it's a stretch.
Rams. I think you mentioned Jets earlier.
Jets, maybe Bills would be, I think, the best fit.
Well, if he goes to the Browns, he's just going to be added on the list of quarterbacks that failed to go through that franchise.
For the 49ers, though, they want him to go to the Browns because he's still under contract. If they got a trade, they could try and trade that number 2 spot because the Browns are going to draft a quarterback at number 2.
Right.
Sorry for whoever that quarterback may be, but whoever that quarterback is at number 2, better hope Kaepernick goes to the Browns because that pick.
Well, the 49ers are a better team.
I would rather play for the 49ers than be a quarterback on the Browns.
Yeah.
But they could trade him to the Browns, try and get that number 2 pick. That would give San Francisco the number 2 and 7 pick.
So would San Francisco then take a quarterback, you think?
I would think so. There's a few.
You said they had 2 and 7, so would they get a quarterback 2nd pick and get a wide receiver or running back that 3rd or that 7th pick?
I would go defense. I think the defense needs a lot more rebuilding than the offense right now. They had a horrendous defense last season. I think if they got Carlos Hyde, solid running back, you don't need to replace him. You still got Torrey Smith, and they just signed Garrett Selleck to an extension. So they've got a pretty good group of Anquan Bolden. They've got a older but experienced group of receivers. So I don't think offense is necessarily where they need to focus on defense. Their defense is abysmal right now. I think the Bills would be the best fit, though. One of the reasons Kaepernick, I guess, said he wanted to go to the Jets was to be closer to his girlfriend who works in New York City. For some reason or another, that influenced his decision enough to want to get traded across the country. If the Jets and Brandon Marshall on First Take even said that they don't want him, they don't really need him. The Fitzpatrick, he lost the playoff game, or their last game to go to the playoffs rather. But he was not the problem last season.
So obviously we both agreed that he's not good enough to call his own shots, but do you think he has a say in the trade of the team that he might potentially go to? Do you think he has any say in that at least?
To me, no, because if you are under contract he's going to get $12 million guaranteed here in a month from today.
Right.
If you're willing to put that on the line and say, I don't want to play for this team anymore, you get dealt with whatever cards you get dealt with. If you're not going to take the guaranteed money, then, so if you end up on the Browns, so be it. Sorry about your career, but it's over.
So if he went to the Browns, you think he'd be the starter?
He'd have to be the starter. I don't know who you put in front of Colin Kaepernick. I mean, he's not a horrible quarterback.
Right.
When you put him on the Browns, he's elite. Especially if Josh Gordon can not get suspended
if he ever comes back.
If he ever comes back. Cleveland really doesn't have a horrible defense. They've got a decent defense. Their offense just nothing works, and their front office keeps dishing their head coaches out. Give a coach 1 or 2 years, you're never gonna.
Right.
You're never gonna be able to build up anything. But the ex-Niners offensive coordinator Greg Roman is the OC for the Bills now too, which could be some motivation. That was the duo that went to the Super Bowl, so that could be some more motivation for Kaepernick to want to sign there. It's pretty much the same scheme they're running with Tyrod Taylor, except Kaepernick just has more experience.
Tyrod Taylor had a pretty decent year, though, considering
he didn't have a bad year. Would you rather? Because that team's still pretty young. They're not a playoff team right now. Would you rather build around Tyrod Taylor or Colin Kaepernick?
It depends on if they already have started building around Tyrod Taylor. He was the starter this year. He already has more chemistry built up than Kaepernick does. So,
do you forego that for the playoff experience?
Yes and no. Like I said, if chemistry is like a big component of playoff. So the chemistry with Tyrod Taylor would is more than chemistry with Kaepernick, but obviously experience is also very sought after in terms of a quarterback in the playoffs, and playoffs is one of the most stressful parts of the game. So it could go either way. If he does go to the Bills, I think that's the wise choice for them and him, but he doesn't have a say. So
yeah, well, speaking of the Bills, gonna move on from Colin Kaepernick, but not the Bills. Running back LaShawn McCoy last month he's being investigated right now for allegedly being a part of an assault on 2 off-duty Philadelphia police officers. He's not officially been charged. The case has been turned over to the DA. It's been kind of just lingering there for a couple weeks. Some speculations close to it have said he's not going to get charged. The DA has immediately thrown those claims out. But either way, he's still not moving forward with this, which has led to some possible speculation because McCoy used to play in Philadelphia that he's getting a little pass because of who he is. So should he be allowed to play? The Bills right now are preparing for him not to be there for the early parts of the season. So do you think he should be able to play if he's charged and if he's not charged?
If he's not, I think he shouldn't be able to play while he's under investigation. If he's not charged, then you got to move on from it.
Yeah.
He might have done it on purpose. He might not have, but he's proven innocent. He wasn't charged, so you can't really hold that against him. But while he's being investigated, I think you can't play him because Ray Rice beat up his girlfriend. Obviously, different circumstances, but it's still along the same lines of assault.
Right.
It can't be more frowned upon to beat a woman than a police officer. I mean, morally, yes, you could say that it's more wrong to beat a woman, but
criminally, it's
right. It's the same. It's the same thing there. So you can't. It'd be kind of hypocritical to say, "Oh, you can't beat a woman, but you can beat a police officer. That's a man." It's still wrong in both scenarios completely. So one shouldn't be more severely punished while the other one isn't at all.
Right. Do you think he's gonna get a pass just because of who he is? I mean, there really hasn't been any evidence released, but from what the insiders who are closer to this case than we are have said, that there's a lot of evidence pointing at LaShawn McCoy as being a part of this.
Well, there are 4 guys, one including McCoy, in the altercation. He might get a pass because of who he is, but like we said, we don't know all the evidence that's there. We don't really know the full story of what happened, what this scenario was. But I don't think he should get a pass because that's not right.
Right.
But money talks, and if you're slightly famous, that gets you a long way.
So if he doesn't get charged by the Philadelphia DA, do you think the NFL might launch an internal investigation and maybe reprimand him some way through that? Or do
I think they will? No, because if the own city where the police officers that were assaulted belong to can't even find hard evidence on it, I don't see how the NFL would either. I mean, he was in a city where he doesn't even play anymore, so it'd be hard for the NFL to connect 2 different cities, a player from a team and then a city that he was visiting. I just don't see them doing that. I feel like they would trust that police department enough to where they would forget about it and move on.
Right. So sticking with the NFL, kind of getting away from Buffalo, going almost across the country. We talked. Peyton Manning's been the subject of every one of our shows here thus far. The last couple of weeks, it's been his assault scandal. Well, not scandal, accusation from when he was at Tennessee. No new updates with that. However, his team's owner, John Elway, has until March 9th, so next Thursday, to release him or pay him a guaranteed salary of $19 million, obviously coming off a Super Bowl win. Is it safe to say he's done playing with the Broncos?
Yes, I think it's safe to say. No, it's not really safe to say, but I'm confident saying that he's done with the game. I think he's gonna let the Broncos know before that date what he's gonna do, because I think he respects them too much to just leave him out like that.
Yeah.
So like, if he doesn't say anything by the 9th, I think the Broncos would be done with him, just because you can't rely on someone of that age to come back, even though he is Peyton Manning.
Even if
you gotta move on.
Even if he said he wants to come back, his contract is guarantees him $19 million.
Right.
Even if he says he wants to come back, I'm not so sure I'm bringing him back. That's $19 million you can invest in Brock Osweiler.
Because even if he stays this year, it's not going to be long until he does retire.
And just like last year, he got injured. He could go out week 1, week 2. You're still paying him $19 million.
Right.
You know, if they won the Super Bowl, they're going to have to write some paychecks this offseason. You know, that would free up a lot of room for them to not have to pay Peyton Manning, who's honestly not going to have much of an impact on that team.
Well, I agree. I think it is safe to say that he's done with the Broncos. They're not going to wait around on him.
Yeah, it's not worth it for them.
If they don't have an answer by the 9th, I think they're just going to focus and concentrate on Osweiler, which they should, because he's good, obviously.
Yeah, he earned his spot on that team. If he doesn't come back with the Broncos, do you really think it's worth it for him to pick a third team in his career? I mean, do you think in the next 2 weeks we're going to know if he's retiring or not?
Right. If he's done with the Broncos, I think he shouldn't go to another team, because even if he did go to another team, which would most likely be the Rams, apparently, he's not going to take the Rams to a Super Bowl, I don't think.
Right.
So him playing another season would just be more wear and tear on his body that's going to result in not really anything.
To me, it reminds me a lot of Michael Jordan when he like refused to realize that he had hit his prime and he needed to get out, and he went and played a season with the Wizards instead of retiring a Chicago Bull and ending, with his team. It reminds me a lot of that Peyton might just go to, if he went to the Rams, it would just be a stupid, just get out now. Don't go to the Rams and waste your time.
Well, I'm sure it's got to be really hard for these players to just retire like that.
I'm sure it is, but they have to. I mean, Peyton's gone through a couple surgeries, a neck surgery. Came back and played a few seasons. His body's got to be screaming at him.
Right.
It's time to stop.
I think now would be a good choice to step down now with this assault, case going on. I think he should just put it to bed, just relax, focus on his family, and just enjoy being retired as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's his time. Probably, I would say before the 9th. I think we're gonna know, because I don't think Elway's gonna wait until the 9th to make his decision.
Well, right, like I said, he has so much respect for the coaches and the front office and the Broncos to not let them know ahead of time.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean he has to be done with the game. I think he's done in every way as a player.
Right.
He will probably be back. He will have to be back as a coach. He's got one of the greatest offensive minds ever.
Brock Osweiler has all the potential in the world.
Exactly.
And Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks ever to play. Why not hire him on as a personal quarterback coach?
Do you think the Colts would have an interest in bringing him back as a coach for Andrew Luck, or do you think that's?
I think any team has an interest in Peyton Manning coming to be their quarterback coach or some coach in
well, there you go.
any way.
Cleveland can hire Peyton Manning to figure out what in the world is going on in Cleveland.
I don't know if that situation's able to be figured out.
Yeah, and the Browns will go to the Super Bowl this year. All right, we're calling it. We're calling it right now, March 1st. Browns are going to the Super Bowl this year with Peyton Manning and Colin Kaepernick. All right, off that ridiculous claim, we're going to take a quick music break. When we come back, going to talk some UFC and NCAA basketball. Be right back.
Baby, now you're one of us. Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Living in the real world. Ain't it good? Ain't it good? Being all alone. Ain't it fun? Living in the real world. 'Cause the world don't open up. Ain't it good? Ain't it good? Being all alone. Go crying to your mama. You're on your own in the real world. Go crying to your mama. You're on your own in the real world. This is the real world. Go crying to your mama.
Yeah, this one right here goes out to all the babies, mamas. Baby mamas. Yeah, go like this. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
My baby is drama, mama, don't like me. She doing things like having the boys come from her neighborhood to the studio trying to fight me. She need to get a piece of the American pie and take her bite out. That's my house. I disconnect the cable and turn the lights out. And let her know her grandchild is a baby and not a paycheck. Private school, daycare, shit, medical bills, I pay that. I love your mom and everything. See, I ain't the one who lay down. She wanna rip you up, start a custody war. My lawyer, stay down. She never got a chance to hear my side of the story. We was divided. She had fish fries, cookouts for my child's birthday. I ain't invited, despite it. I show her the utmost respect when I fall through. All you do is defend that lady when I call you.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. Me and your daughter got special things going on. You say it's puppy love. We say it's full grown. Hope that we feel this way forever. You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Miss Jackson, 10 times out of 9. Now if I'm lying, fine. The quickest muzzle, throw it on my mouth and I'll decline. King meets queen, then the puppy love thing. Together dream about that crib with the good swing. On the oak tree, I hope we feel like this forever. Forever never seems that long until you're grown. And notice that the day-by-day ruler can't be too wrong. Miss Jackson, my intentions were good. I wish I could become a magician to abracadabra all the sadder. Thoughts of me, thoughts of she, thoughts of he. Asking what happened to the feeling that her and me had. I pray so much about it, need some knee pads. It happened for a reason, one can't be mad. So know this, know that everything's cool. And yes, I will be present on the first day of school and graduation. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Look at the way he treats me. She look at the way you treat me. Skill and nose ass homegirl and got your ass sent up the creek, G. Without a pad on, you left the straddle and ride this thing on out. And the union girl ain't speaking no more, cause my dick all in, I'm out. I'm talking about jealousy, infidelity, envy, cheating, beating, and the N to the G, they be the same thing. So who you placing the blame on? You keep on singing that same song. Let bygones be bygones, you can go and get the hell on you and your mom.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times.
Alrighty, we are back on From J to Z. Going to talk about a little UFC action. March 5th, next Saturday, UFC 196 from Las Vegas. 2 headlining fights. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. We brought up in the headlines that Nate Diaz is the replacement for Rafael dos Anjos. It's now a non-title fight. Both fighters are going to go up to the welterweight weight class. Justin, do you think Nate Diaz got robbed because he got a non-title fight?
No, I don't think so. I honestly had never heard of this guy before this headline, so I think that goes to show why he didn't. Obviously, I'm not as big into UFC as I'm sure a lot of people are, so Nate Diaz might be a lot better than I think, but like I said, I haven't heard him since just now. So, no, I don't think he might have gotten robbed, yes, but I don't think it's a big deal that this isn't a title fight.
Yeah, I don't think he's a great fighter. I don't think he really deserves the title shot right now. He's 19-10, so not a super impressive win-loss. He's the number 5 ranked lightweight going up against the featherweight champ. So, if it was Rafael dos Anjos is the lightweight champ, title versus title, that would have been a lot of fun to see. No, I don't think. I agree with you. I don't think it should have still been a title fight. Who do you pick in that fight? Yeah, Diaz or McGregor?
McGregor, but I think McGregor is going to pull a Ronda Rousey soon. I think he's going to get cocky and confident, and I think next title fight, I think he might get whooped up a little bit.
Yeah, I think if
he's definitely starting to run his mouth a little bit too much.
Yeah, if Rafael dos Anjos fought him, I think dos Anjos was going to win for that reason.
Yeah,
because McGregor's super talented, but dude can run his mouth like it's his job.
I mean, Rousey wasn't really necessarily running her mouth, but she was definitely really, really cocky and confident.
She was on another planet.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think McGregor's got this one, but I won't be surprised in the near future if McGregor does get a loss.
Yeah. After this, dos Anjos will probably be his next fight, assuming he wins. Nate Diaz has the. He's got the stamina to go the entire fight, take it 5 rounds, but I think McGregor's too talented to get away from this one. The match before that's going to be the women's title fight, Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. Holm obviously coming off the biggest fight in women's UFC history. Do you think she has anything to prove in this fight?
Yeah, I think she does. Like we just said, Ronda Rousey was pretty cocky. Mm-hmm. I think if Ronda Rousey was more humble that fight, the outcome might have been different. Maybe she still would have lost, but I think I'm going to give Holm a tiny bit of luck that she beat Rousey. Maybe not luck, but she was more prepared for it. I think she does have something to prove. If she can defeat Miesha Tate unanimously, I think I think she's a real contender in the UFC women's world. I'm sure Holm and Rousey are gonna fight again soon. So I think if this is the fight between Ronda and Holm after this fight will be an even better fight than what we saw last time.
Yeah, I definitely think Holly Holm does have something to prove. Part of it I feel like is a little bit of luck from when she beat Ronda. She landed a really solid kick and kind of just caught her off guard. Not to say that's not Ronda's fault, and not to say that that's not, part of Holm's skill. But I think this is the fight where she establishes herself as a fighter and as an elite, as a champion. If she loses this fight, I feel like it almost discredits the fact that she beat Ronda Rousey, because she lost to someone who has already lost to Ronda Rousey.
Right.
Now, most every woman in UFC in that weight class has lost to Ronda Rousey.
But Tate had a decent fight against Rousey. It lasted longer than anyone else has, I believe.
Yeah, it was December of 2013. She took Ronda longer than any of her other title fights. And she gave Ronda definitely by far the best fight. Ronda eventually got her in an armbar in the third round. And
so does Ronda face the winner of this fight? Or do you think it's going to be Holm Rousey regardless?
Well, it should have been Holm Rousey this time. Her jaw, I believe, was her reasoning. Her jaw is not all the way healed up.
Right.
From the last fight when Holm broke it on that kick that knocked Ronda out. It should have been Ronda Holm this fight. I almost give Miesha Tate a little bit of an advantage. I think Miesha Tate's going to win this fight just because I don't feel confident in Holly Holm. She could prove me wrong.
So you think the Holm Rousey fight was more of a
not a fluke necessarily.
You just don't think Rousey was prepared enough?
I still think she's by far the best women's fighter.
Right.
UFC has Holly Holm as the number 13 pound for pound fighter in the UFC. Ronda's not even in the top 15. Which, Holm might have beat Ronda Rousey once. Ronda was dominant, more dominant than anybody in that sport has ever been.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I truly think Rousey was just off her game.
Yeah.
That fight.
Yeah, and Holm capitalized on it. Props to her.
Like everyone else would have.
Exactly. I don't think it's as nearly as impressive as a lot of people think it is.
I'm sure if it was the same circumstances, Tate would have done the same thing to Rousey.
Yeah, if Tate would have fought her like she did back in 2013, I agree with you. But I mean, it all came down to one hit. That's how McGregor won his last fight in like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
He got right off the bat. He just happened to catch the guy in the jaw. No, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you get caught in the right place, you're out.
Right.
That's it. Lights out. And Holm landed a really solid kick. But, I do think it was a lot of she caught. I think you're right. She caught Ronda on a rough night.
So you have Tate.
I've got Tate. Who you got?
I think I'm going to go Holm just because I'd love to see a rematch of Rousey Holm, even though we'll probably see it anyways.
Yeah.
I think if Holm wins this title, it'll just be that much more impressive for that fight to happen.
Whoever wins this fight loses to Ronda in the next fight.
Right.
Ronda's going to get her title back. She's probably going to get her title back, fight a couple more times, and retire. But whoever wins the fight, I don't think has the title long anyway.
Yeah.
Especially if it's Miesha Tate.
Doesn't matter. I think Rousey is now humbled and knows what she needs to do next fight.
Yeah, that fight was probably good for her confidence. Bad initially, but I think in the long run it was good for her to kind of get a grip on.
Well, just
reality.
recently came out that she considered killing herself because of the fight.
Yeah, so I think it was, obviously it was dark, but in the long run, to be able to grow from that as an athlete, but as a person, I think it was good for her to have to go through that and experience that.
I mean, you had to kind of see a loss coming eventually.
It had.
I mean, the only undefeated fighter is Money Mayweather. Like,
yeah,
you knew a loss was going to happen eventually. So I think it happened at a right time for her attitude.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was time. I think she comes back. Whoever wins this fight at UFC 196, I think is going to lose to Ronda.
Right.
So we're going to divert into a completely different topic. Talk some NCAA basketball. Duke guard Grayson Allen was not suspended, but was called for his second intentional tripping violation. It was called as a technical for the second time in the past couple weeks. And that's made a lot of headlines because now he's kind of become one of those dirty Duke players that, in 20 years people are going to hate him like Christian Laettner. Maybe not that bad. A lot of people hate Christian Laettner, but he's kind of turned into that bad guy Duke player. But do you think the NCAA should have suspended him? Do you think they should have done more than a written reprimand, I believe is what he got?
Definitely should have got suspended.
Yeah.
You don't do that twice and nothing happened. Like, you have to keep some sort of integrity to the game.
Right. Yeah, I think by not giving him any sort of a written reprimand is not a legitimate disciplinary action. By not giving him any sort of legitimate disciplinary action, I think you almost say, it's not that big of a deal. Keep doing it.
I'm more surprised that Coach K hasn't punished him himself, because Coach K's that legendary coach that doesn't really take crap from anyone or anything. Yeah. I'm surprised he let something like this go, considering he's the head coach of Duke. He should know better. He should be a better leader, better teacher, and he should be the person to not let his players do stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, even if it was just to send a message to him to, after he got called, sit him the rest of that game.
Maybe don't start him the next game.
Don't start him,
Keep him out of half the next game.
Exactly. If you can afford, if you're playing North Carolina, you're not going to do that.
Right.
But if you can afford to send some sort of message to him to get the point across, because I think as a player, if Coach K's consequences would mean more to Grayson Allen than the NCAA's.
Right, I agree. Also, would the conference step in before the NCAA? Or do you think there's a ladder there, coach, conference, NCAA? So do you think the spotlight should be more on the team than necessarily the conference or the NCAA as a whole?
I don't think Coach K would do anything serious until either a player got injured or not on the second violation. I don't think he would. The NCAA, I think, should have done something more than a written reprimand, because both were intentional, blatant, tripping violations.
So what do you think the point is of his dirty play? Like, why does he choose to do that?
Probably, I would assume the biggest reason anybody else would to get in the head of the. I don't think it's as much about getting an advantage, because they're just going to get back up and keep doing their thing. It's not that big of a deal.
Well, on the floor for the most recent tripping call, he said that the person he was guarding, Rainer Mays or something along the lines of that last name, said that he just Mays continued to play very physical, and so he was trying to play very physical back. But
there's a difference between blocking someone out and tripping them when they're running down the court.
I agree. So I don't know if he's using that as an excuse or if that was truthful, but really it's no excuse to intentionally trip somebody.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. It's not – you don't just accidentally stick your foot out. He was looking at the guy when he did it both times.
So do you think refs now are going to watch him for future Duke games? Like, could this possibly be an ejection? I don't know what grounds that is, but –
I think, he's kind of getting what's about to come his way. And if that means that he gets tossed from a game before any other player might normally get tossed, yeah, I think you have to take it kind of the totality of the circumstances. Say this guy has done it before. He's going to keep doing it. The NCAA isn't going to do anything about it. If Coach K doesn't step in, I'd be very surprised if Coach K doesn't do anything. Say something to him. It doesn't have to be for the world to see. You pull him aside in the locker room, I think you're going to get a message across.
See, the thing is now, the NCAA is letting one player do it. That's not just telling that one player he can continue doing it. They're
opening
telling
the door.
everyone, every player, that it's okay to do that.
Yeah. So the next guy who does it gets teed up, does it once, maybe even twice. NCAA steps in.
Right.
He throws his arms up.
Now
well,
they
what?
can't. They can't do that now. Now they have to
Exactly.
treat it fairly.
Exactly. You say, well, that guy plays for Duke, so he gets some sort of pass.
Right.
You're opening the door for so many problems, which is a big reason I think the NCAA should have done something. Even if you just say, sit out, you're done for the half. You're not starting first half. You sit out. Something to send a message.
One flagrant foul for the first time is fine, but if it happens again intentionally, that's when you have to step in and
especially
have
in
a
such
more
a
severe
close time
punishment.
frame.
Right, within a month.
Yeah.
Both of them happened within a month. That's not accident.
Yeah.
Maybe if it happened at the beginning of the year and then maybe at the very end of the year, maybe, but within that close of a time span, you just have to do something.
Yeah. Duke right now sitting at 17 in the country, 21-8. You thinking like maybe a 4 seed for Duke?
Probably 4 or 5, but they always play well in March Madness. Just a Coach K thing. He's a very good March Madness coach, along with
They're
Bill
coming
Self.
off a title.
Right. So I think they're at a 4 seed right now in the Midwest. I think they'll stay there unless they win their conference. Then I could see them going up to a 2.
Yeah, I mean they just lost to Pitt on Sunday.
Right.
So technically later tonight, Tuesday, playing Wake Forest. Then this weekend on ESPN, they're playing North Carolina, who's 8 right now.
Right.
So if there's any time for Grayson Allen to not get suspended, it would be against Wake Forest, and screw his chances of playing against North Carolina. But I mean that would be interesting if he caught him, if he couldn't control himself enough in this next game before North Carolina in the ACC tournament, because that's gonna hurt the team a lot more than his stupidity.
Right. I agree. So let's move on to a little bit more local. Xavier beats number 1 Villanova, turns around a few days later, loses to unranked Seton Hall. What do you make of that? Was that number 1 loss, or was them beating number 1 Villanova the true Xavier, or was the loss of Seton Hall a fluke and not the real Xavier?
No, I think the real Xavier was against Villanova. I think Seton Hall caught.
Well, Seton Hall's playing to prove something as well.
Seton Hall is not a bad team.
Xavier is in. Seton Hall is I believe is a 7 seed.
They're a top
7 seed
30
right now.
team.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like they lost to an unranked, technically, yes. They didn't lose to some nobody, they lost to a good team.
Seton Hall is still playing to prove. They could make a run in the Big East still and get bumped up even higher. I think Xavier is fairly at where they're going to end up anyways. Yeah. Unless they play, I think they play Villanova their last game of the regular season before conference play. So if they can beat Villanova 3 times in 2 weeks, you can't ignore that.
Yeah, but I mean, on that same note though, is Xavier beating Villanova impressive? Yeah. Is it impressive because they beat the number 1 seed, or is it impressive because they're such a small school? Because if you put Kansas as the number 5 team, Kansas versus Nova, it's not that big of a deal. 5 beats 1. It's not really that big of an upset.
Right.
It's more of an upset because Xavier's such a small school.
Well, the thing with Xavier is, you're right, it is a small school, but Xavier is also known as a basketball school.
Yeah.
They don't have a football team or anything, obviously. So they've always been decent at basketball. Same with Cincinnati. Although Cincinnati's a bigger school, has a football team and everything, but both teams are fairly known for their basketball. They're always either in the conversation for being ranked. They're always most likely in the March Madness. Yeah. UC's coming in a little slow right now. I think we just moved out of a last 4 in spot. I think we are in right now. But I think a small school, them being a small school, does make it a bigger underdog than what it really is.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting at 25-4. So going into that game, they were 24-3 against Villanova. that's impressive. Especially Seton Hall's third in the Big East. Nova's 1, Xavier's 2. So they lost to the number 3 team in their conference, beat the number 1 team nationally.
Right, and conference play is always harder than.
Yeah, Xavier's 13-4 in the Big East, and even Seton Hall's 11-5. So they beat a good team, but they didn't lose to a bad team. So yeah, I think they're probably sitting about where they're going to. Do you think there's a possibility of them getting up to a number 1 seed?
No, I don't think so. You got Kansas, North Carolina, Virginia as the number 1 seeds right now, and Villanova's that 4th number 1 seed. So possibly if they beat Villanova the next 2 times, as in the last game of the regular season and in the tournament playoff, I think they could bump up. I don't think they will. It's possible, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, they don't play Nova again unless they were to meet in the Big East tournament. They do play Creighton on Saturday. That's their season finale. Creighton's unranked right now, so that game probably not going to have a ton of impact unless they lose.
Right.
Creighton's 18-11 on the season and 4th in the Big East. So, do you think we're reading a little too much into it because of how many upsets there have been this season? To the number 1 seed or the number 1 team getting upset, is it really that big of a deal this season? Or is it just kind of new week, new team?
Well, there's been 7 different number 1 seeds, which is 1 number 1 seed short of most different number 1 seeds ever in a season. So it is one of those years. Because it's one of those years, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it's still a feat that you want to accomplish, is knocking off the number 1 seed at the time.
Right.
What I'm kind of surprised is that, yes, they lost to Seton Hall, but they beat the number 1 team. I thought they'd go up a little bit regardless of the loss. Maybe sit at 3 or 4, not stay at 5.
I was, if they didn't lose to Seton Hall, I had them probably only going up to 4, just because Villanova's not going to drop too far. You lose to the number 5 team.
Right.
It's not, you're not going to drop below the number 5 team.
Right.
There were a lot of upsets, but there wasn't a lot of room for movement in the top 5. The teams really just kind of rearranged this
Right.
week. They're all the same. Oklahoma being kind of the only that was the only real big surprise. They got bumped out of there because they lost to Texas. But, even Texas is 23rd.
Mm-hmm. Well, they just got their butts whooped by Kansas by 30 points, so...
Yeah, I picked Oklahoma the last couple weeks, but
I picked Iowa and they lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, well, God help the next team you pick.
I'm not a big Kansas fan, but they're looking really good right now.
See, I am a big Kansas fan. I just am always weird to pick them because they always underperform in the tournament. It just seems every year. They're Kansas. They're always in the top 10 at the end of the season. I just feel like they just always underperform.
You always have to watch out for Duke and Kentucky because they always play very well. Well, look, this Midwest bracket has Kansas, Duke, and Kentucky all in the same bracket. Oh, and Michigan State. Kansas, Michigan State, Duke, Kentucky. I think whoever goes to the Final Four from the Midwest, I think that's who's going to win it, the Midwest team.
Well, it's not set in stone just yet.
Right.
If that were to be, whoever can make it out of those teams, pending just a stupid March Madness upset, which 'tis the year for that.
Right.
And I would hardly be surprised if anything happened. If maybe not the year a 16 beats a 1, but besides that, nothing really would surprise me, just with how the season's gone.
So to finish off with a little, Cincinnati moved up from the last 4 in, which would make us an 11 seed. We're now a 10 seed, playing Dayton, another local team. So just a little update there.
We're going to talk a little baseball. Kind of the big baseball news, really the only baseball news right now, it's spring training, not a whole lot to talk about. The Chicago Cubs signed Dexter Fowler and Shane Victorino this past week. Dexter Fowler initially said he was going to sign with the Orioles. I had actually even talked to Adam Jones, an outfielder for the Orioles, and had confirmed that with him. Eventually, secretly, actually, the Cubs players didn't actually even find out that Dexter Fowler had re-signed until he showed up at at camp last week. So it was a surprise re-signing, especially for the Orioles, who thought that they picked up what was one of the better free agents, outfield free agents, this offseason. So where do you think these guys fit on such a deep team?
Well, Fowler's a center fielder, correct?
Correct.
And Victorino's a right fielder. So, I mean, obviously they're looking for fielders. I don't understand why. Like you said, they're a deep team. I don't know, because
It seems like they just keep adding pieces to an already built puzzle.
right. I don't see a weakness in their game now.
Yeah. Well, I think the only reason Victorino, I think he's there for the same reason David Ross is there, and that's just they've been there. Experience.
Just experience and morale boosters.
There's so many young guys still on that team.
Teachers.
Dexter Fowler. I think you put him in center field. I think Dexter Fowler re-signing means Schwarber's probably going to go to catcher at some point in the season,
Right.
or at least split up his time between left field.
Well, he's working on being a personal catcher for one of their pitchers, right?
That I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure one of their fourth or fifth slot pitchers is asking for Schwarber to be his personal catcher. So that means every game he
Kyle
pitched.
Hendricks, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah, I think you are right. I
So
think it's Kyle Hendricks.
every time Kyle Hendricks pitches, Schwarber's going to be catching for him.
Yeah, well, it's just exactly what John Lester's doing with David Ross.
Right,
The only
right,
time David
right.
Ross plays is if John Lester's happened to pitching, and as soon as Lester's out, Ross usually leaves the game too. Yeah, I think you put Fowler in center field. You sign Jason Hayward. He's a natural right fielder, so to let him bounce back to right field, and that's
Left field.
kind of where you either put Schwarber in left. You've got Jorge Soler, but he's a natural right fielder. He's never played a game in left field, so maybe that's just an opportunity for some trade bait for the Cubs to deal him for a pitcher. The Indians right now are shopping for an outfielder. Corey Kluber's coming off. 2014 was a phenomenal season. 2015, not so much.
Well, what about putting Chris Bryant in outfield? He played there a little bit.
Chris Bryant played a little bit of left field. They have enough infield pieces to make that happen. You could probably you'd have to put Javier Baez at third base, and he's more of a natural middle infielder. Not that that's a huge stretch to make.
I mean, regardless, they could probably they probably have 3 deep for every position.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
They have so many players that can play different positions that I don't think they'd ever have a shortage of any one position.
exactly. They've got enough. They're starting to put. I mean, they're almost putting infielders in the outfield just for fun.
Right.
Because they've got outfielders to play. Move Jorge Soler, who's a right-handed hitter, to put him in left field, which is normally a natural. Normally lefties go to right field, righties will go to left field.
Yeah.
So, other than the fact that it's not his normal position, it wouldn't be unnatural for Jorge Soler to move to left field. You let Schwarber start doing the catching. That's probably what this team would look like for the next few years.
So do you think Schwarber's going to eventually be put into that starting catcher?
Yeah.
Not just for Hendricks, but for just everyone in general?
I do. Miguel Montero is like I think he hit somewhere in the 240s last season.
Yeah.
I love Miguel Montero because he's got not necessarily like the caliber of experience that like in Leicester, David Ross, Victorino has. He's got a lot of experience in the league, though, and he's day-to-day a pretty reliable guy.
Right.
He came up big towards the tail end of last season.
I mean, you can't deny the young talent of Schwarber, though.
No. Long-term, it's not even a question. Miguel Montero's got 2 years left.
Right.
With the Cubs, anyway. And he's getting up there in age. He's probably going to retire, I would say, with the Cubs. I can't imagine 2 years left, especially if the Cubs win a World Series. I'm sure
Right.
he'll probably, him, David Ross. It's David Ross's last season. Especially as a Cubs fan, I want to see Schwarber behind the plate and let him get his natural position going as a catcher.
Yeah.
I want to see Jorge Soler move to left field. I don't want to see him leave because he had just a monster postseason. I think the dude's got an insane amount of talent, unless they got a great deal for a pitcher, which I would not want Corey Kluber in return for Jorge Soler. He's worth a lot more than that.
Yeah.
One of their biggest contenders this season is going to be the Giants. Giants and the Mets and the Cubs are kind of the three teams. Maybe the Nationals, but they've choked the last couple seasons. It's hard to put too much weight on the
Something
Nationals.
always goes wrong in that organization.
Yeah, and I don't think they have the depth that the other teams do. They've got a good rotation. I don't think any team has the depth the Cubs do. Just not even close.
I would agree with that.
The Mets, Giants both have phenomenal starting rotations. Do you, Jets? Yeah, the Jets. We're talking about football now. The Giants have won 3 out of the last 5 titles. Catcher Buster Posey was with them for all 3 of those rings. Do you think he has established himself as an all-time great?
The World Series rings tell me yes, but only 7 years in the league, being only 28 years old, tells me no. He does have a league MVP back in 2012. I think he's an all-time great catcher right now, but as an overall all-time great player, I think he still has a little bit to prove.
Yeah.
So, as a catcher, yes. As a player, no. Just because of the rings. The 3 World Series rings in 7 years is pretty impressive.
That's crazy impressive. Obviously, you don't do that by yourself, but he's been their catcher.
Well, technically
from the
only
time
6
he
years
got
because he was hurt. He was hurt. He
broke
had
his
to.
leg, yeah.
He was out a whole season. So, really, 3 World Series rings in 6 years of actual play.
Yeah, the 3 Silver Slugger awards, Rookie of the Year, like you said, League MVP, career batting average 310, which is crazy,
It's phenomenal.
and 375 on base percentage, which is really good. So for 28, he's the best 28-year-old in the league.
Right.
I don't doubt that for a second. But yeah, you look like Josh Hamilton and Joe Mauer both come to mind. That guys were both really good, and just Josh Hamilton had some off the field issues, but
A lot of
both
drug
them
problems.
hit their 30s and slowly started to go downhill.
Right.
Hamilton's older than Joe Mauer by a couple years, but I think the next 5 years is, he's realistically only probably got another 8 or 9 years left tops. I think the next 5 are the most crucial to make a case for.
So what puts him in the caliber of an all-time great player? What else does he need to prove?
He needs to maintain it. I don't think he has to add anything.
Just stay consistent into
Exactly.
his 30s.
Exactly. That body of work is better than 99% of all players that are ever going to play baseball. I mean, that's 3 rings, 3 Silver Slugger, and a league MVP. I just think he has to maintain it. The Giants maybe win another World Series ring. I wouldn't.
I mean, he
doubt
already
it.
has 3. That's impressive.
He's already got
3's
3
impressive.
in 5 years. I wouldn't doubt if he got another one.
Right.
He'd have to get through the Mets rotation and the Cubs team. But
I mean, it's a long season. It's definitely possible.
it's definitely possible. Yeah, I think if he maintains it, he makes a case for it. If his numbers drop, if his career batting average, he would really have to tank. I mean,
Right.
Even a 290 career batting average is still
Mhm.
really good. He'd have to tank quite a bit over the next 5 seasons, but it's all about maintaining it. He's already got an incredible resume right now for a 28-year-old. Alrighty, so we're going to take a little music break, and when we come back, we've got a lot of NBA action happen. We're going to get into a little bit of that. Right now, Aerosmith.
story I got to tell about three bad brothers you know so well. It started way back in history with that Rob and me.
Mike D.
Been had a little horsey named Paul Revere. Just me and my horsey and a quart of beer. Riding across the land, kicking up sand. Sheriff's slices on my tail cause I'm in demand. One lonely beastie I be. All by myself without nobody. The sun is beating down on my baseball hat. The air is getting hot, the beer is getting flat. Looking for a girl, I ran into a guy. His name is MCA. I said howdy, he said hi. jewelry is what I expect. MCA was with it, and he's my ace. So I grabbed the piano player and I punched him in the face. Piano player's out, the music stopped. His boy had beef, and he got dropped.
Mike D grabbed the money.
MCA snatched the gold. I grabbed 2 girlies and a beer that's cold.
Just a poor boy, though my story is seldom told. I squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles, such are promises. All lies and jest, still a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. When I left my home and my family, I was no more than a boy in the company of strangers, in the quiet of the railway station, running scared. Laying low, seeking out the poorer quarters where the ragged people go, looking for the places only they would know. Lie-la-lie, lie-la-lie-lie, lie-la-lie, 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 lie-la-lie. Asking only workmen's wages, I come looking for a job, but I get no offers. Just to come on from the wars on 7th Avenue. I do declare there were times when I was so lonesome I took some comfort there. La 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 la. And I'm laying out my winter clothes and wishing I was gone, going home, where the New York City winters are bleeding me, bleeding me. Stands a boxer and a fighter by his trade, and he carries the reminders of every glove that laid him down or cut him till he cried out in his anger and his shame, I am leaving, but the fighter still remains. Lie, la, lie, lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie. Lie, la, lie. Lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, la, 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 lie. Lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, lie, la, lie. Lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, la, 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 lie. Lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, lie, la, lie. Lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, la, 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 lie. Lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie.
Breaking my back just to know your name. 17 tracks and I've had it with this game. I'm breaking my back just to know your name. But heaven ain't close in a place like this. Anything goes, but don't think you might miss. 'Cause heaven ain't close in a place like this. I said heaven ain't close in a place like this. Bring it back down tonight. Never thought I'd let a rumor ruin my moonlight. Well, somebody told me you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year. It's not confidential, I've got potential. Ready, let's roll on to something new. Taking its toll and I'm leaving without you. 'Cause heaven ain't close in a place like this. I said heaven ain't close in a place like this. Bring it back down tonight. Never thought I'd let a rumor ruin my moonlight. Well, somebody told me you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year. It's not confidential, I've got potential. Rushing around. Place yourself for me. I said maybe, baby, please. But I just don't know now. When all I wanna do is try. But somebody told me you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year. It's not confidential, I've got potential. Rushing around. Now somebody told me you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year. It's not confidential, I've got potential. Rushing around. Somebody told me you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year. It's not confidential, I've got potential. Rushing around.
All right, back with you on From J to Z, coming at you from the Jack and Jones Trader Studio as part of the Electronic Media Division of CCM. I'm talking a little NBA action. Last week, the Raptors beat the Cavaliers in what kind of turned into a game that was decided in the final seconds. Does this, for you, Justin, prove that the Raptors are for real contenders in the East?
Yes, it does. Only because there aren't that many contenders in the East.
Yeah.
Cavs and the Raptors definitely are right there. But I think this just solidifies them more as a threat than what people may think.
Yeah, I know last week we talked about were these guys for real? Could they actually make a run and do something against the Cavs? I mean, the game was decided in the last few seconds, so it's kind of hard to say. But it makes it a lot easier to say that in a series, these guys would make it interesting. Because
I think they'd make it interesting. I think Raptors are going to give the Cavaliers the best series in terms of competitiveness. I think the Raptors could beat the Cavaliers. I don't think it will happen.
Yeah.
But I think the Raptors have the best shot of doing it. Celtics are in third. They're 7 games back from the Cavs. Probably not that big of a threat. Same with the Heat, 9 games back. Hawks, 9.5 games back. Good teams. I don't think they're at the level of play that the Cavaliers and Raptors are at right now.
Yeah, the Cavs took a really good turn, and it looked like they were really starting to get things rolling. They just won earlier tonight, had lost the previous 2. The Raptors, 2 games back, but they've won 18 of their last 22 games.
Right. They're definitely hot. They're playing good basketball right now. Kyle Lowry is having a great
Mm-hmm.
He's on the All-Star team.
Yeah, he's killing it. I mean, the Raptors are almost as hot as the Warriors or Spurs. Like that's in the last 22 games. That's almost the contention that they're with.
If the Raptors would have played like they're playing now the whole season, the Raptors would definitely be up there in the category with the Warriors and the Spurs.
Yeah.
They would definitely be in first place above the Cavaliers. They might even still be in single-digit losses instead of having almost 20. But this is a great time to be hot, going down the stretch and really playing for a playoff spot.
My only worry is that maybe they're getting hot a little too early, because this win streak started just before the All-Star break.
That's also true.
So maybe it's just a little too early. During that 18 wins, they beat Boston, Clippers, Washington, Cleveland, and Miami, all of which are playoff teams.
Right. The Hawks also beat the Cavaliers 2 or 3 nights ago too. So they also sat LeBron James, but
he can't start every game.
Right. He did say he was feeling better this year at this same time than he was last year. So the Cavaliers should be happy about that their best player, possibly the best player in the league, is feeling better than last year.
Yeah. I would say the outlook for Cavs fans is not phenomenal, especially because I guess there's some turmoil going on in Cleveland. What looked like it was going to be a really nice turnaround for the Cavs. Just reports kind of coming out in the last 48 hours that Kyrie Irving might want out of Cleveland in the near future.
Yeah, they definitely need to be worried about that because since he's come back from injury, they've definitely been playing better. But what they have to keep in mind is that it's not a talent thing. It's not that he doesn't like being in Cleveland. It's just it's a chemistry thing among players. He just doesn't feel like he's really at home with the group of players he's with. So it's not a big deal in terms of the city getting mad at Kyrie Irving like they did with LeBron James. That's obviously different, but I think it's more personal reasons than physical or team related reasons.
How much longer do you think LeBron has in the league?
He just turned 31. Yeah.
But he's been in the league since he was 18.
Right. I think he'll make it to 38. I think around 36 though he'll start to decline. I mean, I'm sure he's going to start till he's 38.
I'm sure he'll start till he's out.
Yeah. I think he'll be here till 38 at least, 7 more seasons. But that's really not that far away though.
The first 13 years went by pretty fast. It seems like
20 years in the NBA. That's fair.
Yeah, that's a long time. There's only a few people, especially when you're talking about the all-time greats. There's only a few people that stick around that long. Even Michael didn't stick around. He was well short of 20.
That's strange saying that he's only has 7 years in the league left.
Yeah, And it's. I think it's stranger to say he's been here for 13 years.
Right.
He's still. He just doesn't.
Relatively young. He's
Yeah,
still,
sports, not as young. He's not super sports young.
Right.
But 31, he's still a super young guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so. Do you think he's obviously going to retire in Cleveland? I'm going to almost put money on it.
I don't see him leaving at this point.
Not again.
It doesn't need to be a decision 2. Well, this would be decision 3, I guess. That's just so unnecessary. Because then, you burn so many bridges in Cleveland if you leave again. With what he said about fans and why he came back, that would just all get thrown down the drain. I think he's in Cleveland for the remainder.
Right. I agree.
His biggest competition to get a 5th or a 3rd title is Golden State right now, which is everyone's competition to just win a game. 53-5, they improved to with their win over the Thunder, and man, they just don't seem to show any weaknesses out there. The first in points, but they're 21st in points allowed, which would lead someone to think that maybe a good defense is going to be able to beat them.
Well, here's the thing. Their offense is so good. Is their defense really that big of a deal?
Clearly not. Only in 5 games has it been that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
If you're so good, if you score all these points, why do you care if the team can't catch up to you or keep up with you offensive wise? I don't think it's a big worry.
Yeah, I think they can afford to slack definitely on their energy on the defensive side because they put it and they're so efficient on the offensive side. So yeah, I agree. There's kind of an asterisk there, but they're really not. They're averaging 115 points a game. Next closest is 109, I believe. That's the Thunder. You kind of ask yourself, would a good defense beat them? Well, the team with the fewest points allowed, second highest chance for rebounds, and the 6th best offense in the league, which you would think combined would normally be the first team in the entire league. That's San Antonio,
who Golden State won by a lot.
30 points.
Right.
Now, they still face each other each of the next 2 months, but even the team on paper that should be able to beat this team lost by 30.
Yeah.
They sat Tim Duncan. We talked about that on the first show. Tim Duncan's not going to make up 30 points in a game. It's just not going to happen. But there's no team that seems like that could beat them. Maybe a team that could beat them one game. Thunder clearly showed, they lost the game. I get that. They showed that they can beat this team.
I don't think the question is there a good enough defense to stop Golden State? I feel like it's just a big matchup issue. Yeah. I feel like a team that matches up with Golden State really well is better off on defense than a team that's just very good at defense.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be well-rounded. Other than Golden State, San Antonio is the most well-rounded team in the league.
Right.
And they can't get it done. Cleveland, fairly well-rounded team. They couldn't get it done. They lost by almost 30. I think it was 27 points. Even if the Thunder could make a run, because I think the Thunder have gotten, of all the elite teams, Thunder have gotten the closest to beating Golden State. You beat them once, you have to beat them 3-4 times.
Yeah, you have to beat them 4 times. Yeah,
that ain't happening. To catch this team off their guard for 4 games.
Steph Curry is such a big part of the Warriors' offense, obviously, that you just need to find someone to shut him down, and your chances of winning skyrocket.
Yeah.
But no one has been able to do that so far.
Who do you put on him? I mean, do you just say, screw it? Could LeBron even keep up with him?
Length, yes. Quickness, no.
Yeah.
I think LeBron has better speed in the open court, but I think quick feet wise.
Normally you'd match up by size, but say you match up by talent, you put LeBron against Steph Curry. I mean, LeBron's got 6 inches on him.
Yeah.
But Steph's just he's so fast.
Quick, yeah.
that
You'd have to put a quicker point guard on Steph Curry to guard him.
you'd have to put like a slightly better Russell Westbrook,
Yeah.
which
A better on defense Russell Westbrook.
yeah, that's true. He's got the offensive side, yeah, but I don't even know. He's like the only guy. Maybe Kyle Lowry. That would be interesting to see, but Steph Curry's in another league.
Well, speaking of Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook, I was on ESPN earlier today, and one of the Sports Nation polls was, what duo would you rather have? Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, or Steph Curry, Klay Thompson? Both very... Kevin Durant's got the size more, and Russell Westbrook's got the speed and just sheer explosiveness.
I would go with Westbrook and Durant because I think their chemistry is a little better.
Klay
as a
Thompson
duo.
also is streaky.
He can be streaky. I think the Warriors' best. The best thing about that team is how well they play as a team.
Right.
As a duo,
So if it's 2-on-2...
if it's 2-on-2, it's Durant and Westbrook. Because I think as a duo, they play better together. The Warriors as a team play better.
Westbrook and Durant as a duo, I think, have the most games where they both scored over 30 points, which is an incredible feat. Two players on the same team at the same time scoring over 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
They scored over 40 points together a few times. Both players scoring over 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something Golden State does. Normally they have...
That hasn't happened with them once. I don't think Curry or Thompson have scored over 30 points the same night.
Yeah, the thing with them is that when, they just kind of rotate players of who's going to be the big scorer. And it's every other night it's Steph Curry.
The Warriors also have some outside support that the Thunder necessarily don't have.
Yeah, the Warriors are deeper, and that helps them a lot. They're a lot more well-rounded than the Thunder. Yeah, if it's 2-on-2, I'm taking Durant and Westbrook.
Yeah. Durant's got the size. Westbrook's got the speed and agility and quickness. Durant's got the just sheer offensive.
Yeah, you'd have to put Klay Thompson would have to guard Kevin Durant. And that's just unfair.
I mean, Curry. I can't say Curry's only game is that he shoots threes because he can also obviously dribble, drive a little bit, but he mostly shoots threes. So Durant can do everything. Durant's a great 3-point shooter. He's long, so he always drives and dunks, and he's great in traffic. So
no matter how good those two guys are, they're gonna have to go through either Golden State and or San Antonio,
right,
to get to the finals, which means they're gonna have to be playing on the road against those two teams. And Golden State and San Antonio right now are 52-0 at home, and neither team has lost a home
which is
game
insane.
It is incredible. So, is the Western Conference Finals locked up?
I mean, honestly, I think this whole NBA playoff is locked up. It's going to be Warriors. I mean, Cavaliers, Raptors on the east side, obviously. They're the only two teams that are really proving themselves.
Yeah, unless some
and on
team
the
just
west,
made it
on the west
insane.
you have the Spurs, Warriors, and Thunder. I think the whole playoff is mapped out, really.
So who do you think? Coin toss in the East as of right now.
Cavaliers.
You give a slight
Yeah.
edge. Okay,
Yeah.
I
West,
give a very slight edge to the Cavaliers.
I do too. I just give it to them because they have more experience in the Raptors.
I mean, it definitely depends. The Cavs are kind of pointed downhill right now, and the Raptors could hardly be pointed any more up.
Well, the leadership with LeBron James too. Yes, the Raptors have leaders as in Lowry, but LeBron James is one of the ultimate leaders. So I think the Cavaliers, not necessarily talent-wise, beat out the Raptors, but more mental-wise can beat out the Raptors. In the Western Conference, it's going to be Warriors, Spurs, whichever team wins that. I think the Thunder's a really good team, but not Warriors, Spurs good right now.
Do you think the Warriors' dominance is good for basketball? Like, for the NBA? Do you think that's good for the game?
I mean, it's not like the Warriors stacked their team. The players, as in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, just happened to develop really, really well. it's not like the Warriors went out and got these great players. It just how they developed has made them great.
Yeah.
I think it's good and bad. It's good that they're making history, but it's bad because I feel like everyone knows the outcome already. It's taking a little bit competitiveness out of the game this season.
I think if you're an NBA, a front office guy in the NBA who's not in the Warriors organization, you have to just hope and pray that some team seed 3 or below makes a run
Right.
and dethrones them. Because I think that would be the best for the game of basketball, I think.
Behind the Thunder, I don't see any teams that are going to be able to compete with Warriors, Spurs, or Thunder. The Rockets and James Harden,
They might not even make the playoffs.
they're 8th right now with a losing record, which is actually weird because you don't usually see a team in the playoffs from the Western Conference with a losing record.
Yeah, normally that's the 6 through 8 seed in the East.
But this year, the Eastern Conference is all over 500, so...
Yeah, it's a little different.
Well, when you have a team like the Warriors in your conference, you're bound to have a losing team in the playoffs. Cause
you get two of the best records at this
Right.
point in the season of all time in the
Right.
same conference in the same season. So yeah, you can't blame the Rockets and every other team too much, because the Thunder could even make a case. You put them in the East,
well,
they'd be top 2.
The Western Conference, the top 3 teams are all better than the first team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. So
As a league, it's Warriors, Spurs, Thunder, Cavaliers, Raptors.
yeah, it's very clear split in who's got the talent this year. Alrighty, we are going to take our final music break of the evening. When we come back, someone you probably have heard of just recently bought a 270-pound hog. So we're going to explain that.
time has come to make things right. You and I must fight for our rights. You and I must fight to survive. No one's gonna take me alive. The time has come to make things right. You and I must fight for our rights. You and I must fight to survive.
Alrighty, back for the last few minutes of From J to Z. We've got our Omaha story of the week. Yoenis Cespedes, the Mets outfielder, for the last week or so has been driving just insanely high-priced exotic cars to spring training. Made the news just about every day. This week he's decided, I guess, to park his car at the St. Lucie County Fair on Saturday night. He showed up there, bought a $7,000 Grand Champion hog. The hog is 270 pounds. Money was all donated to charity. And there's really no explanation from Cespedes as to why he bought a near 300-pound hog. ESPN made a joke. Apparently, he's a fan of barbecues, so that would be one heck of a barbecue. But that's your Omaha story of the week. Makes no sense. Kind of pointless, but that's Omaha. That's Peyton Manning. So, alrighty, that's it for us for the week. Thanks for listening while we took you from J to Z and everything sports.
Join us next Monday at midnight for another episode of From J to Z. Until then, Cincinnati, have a good night.
Good night.